Our final presenter for the evening is David Pacholko. As a young child, David had no idea that breaking windows around the neighborhood and his subsequent punishment would lead to a career in art. Once released from high school, he graduated near the top of his class from Langara's Community Art College in the Art and Merchandising program. Since then, he has enjoyed a career working as a graphic designer and illustrator, and has been recognized by his peers by winning multiple awards at local, national, and international design competitions. A few years ago, David began to tap into his life experiences, past and present, and began the process of self-examination and recreating those moments through painting. Today, David divides his time between his freelance graphic design studio, David James Design, and his visual artwork. David.
All right. This is a self-portrait of me, obviously, formed by the word solutions. And as a designer, that is what I enjoy doing, coming up with design solutions for clients. And yes, as a kid, I did break quite a few windows around the neighborhood. And as my punishment, I had to stand in the corner and think about what I did. Well, I knew what I did, but needless to say, I spent a lot of time there. But I did get to hone my creative thinking skills. Now, this is a wedding invite I had to do for my brother and sister-in-law, and they're huge BC Lions fans. So I had to weave in the Lions colors there and make it not like too sporty. So I think I managed to pull it off there. Good thing they weren't Seahawk fans. Oh, this is my friend Stan Wong, and he asked me to design a wine label for his new business. I told Stan, I've never done a wine label before. He said, no problem, you can do it. So I went to his house, drank some wine, broke a few windows, stood in the corner, came up with this. So he's still working on it, so hopefully it gets off the ground for him. Now, this was for a real good friend of mine, and she turned 50, so instead of putting the classic 50 flamingos on her lawn, I decided to personalize a label for him. And I wrote a little story about it on the back, which unfortunately I can't see it, but the flamingo does kind of look like her, sort of. She's not here tonight, thank goodness. But this is the same couple, and they're quite a couple of characters, and they made their own homemade jam, and decided, oh, I got to do a cheesy label for them. And that's their real hair, by the way. And the jam was pretty good, too. This is a project I did with the RCMP, and it was for the Bruce Dennison Bone Marrow Society. It was a 20-day marathon bike ride through BC, and I persuaded them to change the title to Marathon instead of Marathon. I thought it fit better. So it was a 20-day bike ride, and I designed a poster, which was this, and T-shirts, which was this, and we raised money throughout the tour, and I think we raised about $10,000 during the 20-day tour. And I certainly believe in doing work on a pro bono basis and giving back to the community. Now, I'll change gears a bit here. Now, I could always draw as a young kid, but I always worked in black and white. I didn't want to do in color because I was leaving my comfort zone. So this was more of an exercise I did, just to study and working in black and white. But it wasn't until a few years ago I had a lot of stressful events going on in my life, and I needed some help to go through it. So I did some regression therapy and art therapy, and as a byproduct, I started to paint in color. So that was part of my homework. I had to do things in paint. I said, well, I can do that instead of talking about it. I can just paint, right? So this one is about now a broken heart, and nothing like a heartache to get your creative juices going. And I decided to paint it from the woman's perspective instead of mine, and it's called My Flower Is Gone. So I wanted to just strip it all down as bare as I can. This was my first attempt at doing a painting. So this is my cat, and I was painting my house one night, and somehow he got into my paint trays, and there was paw prints with paint everywhere, so I nicknamed him Picasso. And he got me to thinking about my painting style and whatnot. So I decided to take his cue from that and loosen up my style. So this was one of my first abstracts, and it's almost like a cross section. If you go to Ambleside and you just take a snapshot, and that's what I saw. And I decided you do a cross section, and if you squint, all the colors were there that particular day. So I try to just recreate what I see in a particular moment. So this one is having a little more fun and loosening up, and you can tell. This one is called resurfacing, and it was near the end of my therapy session, so I was getting a little happy. So I kept on exploring, trying different techniques. This one was coated in a high gloss and different enamels and just having fun with it. And when I start these things, I start from a blank canvas. Now this one is called Restless Heart, or kind of the one that got away that I didn't know it till years later. So I was adding texture and just kept on playing and experimenting, and quite often I do a lot of these in one night. So it just, you get in the mode and you just go. So this one is called Autumn Dancing, and it kind of reminds me of my niece and two nephews. They're like skinny twigs, but actually it's a couple of trees, and then I saw an incident where the trees are just sitting there and just, well, the color just kind of meshed. So. And this one is called In the Moment, and you ever been to Falls Creek? I was on the south side, and it was a gray day, and the lights were just reflected off the tall buildings, and then I just looked and I go, if you squint, maybe that's what I saw, right? So I had an art show a few years back, and I ran into an art consultant there, and I told him, I said, yeah, I do all my paintings pretty much, I finish them all in one night. And he goes, you're crazy, don't tell people that. Tell them you toil for hours and years over stuff, and then you have an epiphany, right? I go, wow. So this one is called Epiphany in Orange. Now this one was inspired by Jesus, or as I like to call it, Jose Cuervo. But actually this was like 4 paintings, and I worked on it. It wasn't working, and then I just finally finished it and persisted in it. I ended up calling it persistence. So I want to do something a little different here. And I want everybody to memorize this color palette really quickly. Okay? Good. Now I want you to close your eyes. Everybody's got to close their eyes. Now we're going to do a painting. So no holds barred here. You just have to imagine and go with the flow here. Let loose, just whatever you feel, paint. Keep your eyes closed. Okay, you can open them. This is what we painted. And this one is called Passion Unleashed. Thanks a lot.